Welcome to the shop, Steve here. Today we got a little different project going on here. You might not recognize this because it's actually the top grille. It goes above the deck lid on a 911 Porsche. Now one of these, they're not really cheap. It's not like you just go to the store and buy one. And the people that had owned it before, instead of getting the right fasteners, which you're supposed to do, they went and just butchered it, drilled some new holes, bolted it in, and that's really shoddy, especially when you're dealing with a 911. So we're going to fill these holes up. Now I'm going to use a product, and this product happens to be a Seal, and it's plastic repair. Seal does quite a bit of different things in the auto body world. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. Don't worry about that. But it comes in 4 different types. You got a flexible, semi-rigid, a rigid, and an epoxy. I'm really not too sure what the epoxy is. Probably to glue panels on or something like that. But this is rigid, so we're using the rigid kit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some tape on here so that we're filling the holes and not letting it run through. And then we'll fill the holes, and then we'll finish it, and then eventually we're going to paint the whole thing. So let's zoom in and see if we can make this work. I think the first thing we should do is probably make sure everything's nice and clean. So I'm going to use some carb cleaner. It dries fairly quickly, or evaporates quickly. It's a matter of taping up the holes on the back side. Okay, 50-50. Now you want this stuff fairly warm. You don't want it to be really stiff. So we want to make sure we get her as good as we can get. 50-50. I think that's probably enough. Can always make more. Just using a popsicle stick, and you got to make sure that this is mixed very well. I really found that the adhesion with this plastic repair kit is very good as well. I haven't used this much in my life, but I'm really starting to like this stuff. And with the world going to plastic, you're going to be using it a lot more. Okay, that's pretty good. So I'm just going to use a little screwdriver here. Fill the holes. And we really don't want to get this all over the place. That means that we got to do more work cleaning it up. I want to fill that void the best that we possibly can. All right, our filler has dried up. It actually didn't take very long, but man, that's really hard. So, because I'm in a tight little spot here, I'm actually going to use some files to file these flat. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of filler just to fill up the file marks. But first of all, I don't really want to do more work than I need to, so I'm going to just put a little bit of tape down to prevent some scratching. And then you're just going to have to take your time. That's why I'm sitting down. This plastic stuff seems to work pretty darn good. I'm pretty impressed. But working with plastics is a little bit of a pain. You've got to be aware of your primers you're using, the paints that you're using, because things don't really like to stick to plastics. So I think with any plastic repair, that's probably your biggest thing. All right, I'm going to start with a bigger file. And I'm just going to take my time, flatten her out. If you go too fast and you start rubbing on the side, then that's something else that you got to fix. We don't want to do that. So we'll just take our time. Okay, got everything all filed up, and all you can see is where the hole was. Now the plastic's been roughed up a little bit. You want to make sure that you rough it up a bit, because now we're going to add a little bit of filler. Now this stuff here is a specific filler for plastic. I've never used it before, it's my first time. So we're just going to throw down just a little bit. We don't need very much. And then what I've done, it's actually easier to make a little bit more than it is to make a tiny bit. I made a little spreader so that I can get in there and spread it in there. I just took a piece of plastic. Now when you're doing something like that, it's a pretty small amount. It's pretty easy to get too much hardener. So what I like to do is just put my hardener over here, and then I can take whatever I want. I need about, it's always good to get some on your hands. I need about half of that, I think. Maybe a bit more. Mixed her up really well. Then we'll work quickly, because this will set up, and probably a little quicker than with that will. I'm not sure. I'm going to find out here in a second. Alright, let's see how my little spreader works here. Still have the tape on there. Alright, time to sand the putty. So what I did, I just got 220 on here. You don't want to go too coarse on here. And once again, just take our time. Set up fairly quickly. It seems to be sticking pretty good. Just gonna bend my into the corners here. Looks pretty good. Move on to the next ones and continue on. Then we're gonna hit it with some primer. Now I'm just taping up. I just want to hit the spots that are repaired. I don't want to get primer everywhere here, so I'm taping everything up. Got it all sanded, didn't take very long. Stuff sanded pretty nice. But we got to put a little bit of primer on there. So, as I was saying before, plastic is one of those things that not too much likes to stick to it. So you got to make sure that you get a primer. This one here, it's made for Dominion, 3-in-1 black primer, and it says it's good for plastics. You can put it on aluminum, metal, whatever you want. So that's going to work for us. Just going to give it a couple light coats, just enough to fill the scratches. And then we'll sand that down with some 280 or some 320 or something. See what I got. And then we'll paint it with a plastic paint. Now, one of the things I did do that I didn't show was I cleaned this really, really well. I took some degreaser and a scrub brush and cleaned it up really well, so that because we are painting it, we want to make sure that it's as clean as we can possibly get it. All right, see how it's going to look. Let's give it a little shot, let that dry. Come back and give it another one. I'll probably give it 2 or 3 coats. That way we can sand it out and it's going to look really, really well. Get it ready for paint. Okay. We'll let her all dry up. I'll get another couple coats on there. And then we'll see you when I'm ready for paint. I'm just scuffing the rest of the grill up here before we paint. Looks like it may have been sprayed once before, so we want to make sure that we're prepped up properly. And I've sanded the areas that need to be sanded with 280. They look really good. Now what I'm going to do is, there's some chipping going along here. I'm just going to make sure that everything's prepped up nice so that when we paint it, it's going to look good. When you're outside for that long, you'd have a few chips in there too, so just real lightly. You don't want to sand it too much, just get it nice and smooth. So I'll finish prepping this up, and then we're going to give her a shot of paint. I'm just using a mild thinner here just to wipe it down. Make sure there's no grease. You can see there's stuff coming off, so it's all good. We'll let this dry up. And hit her with the spray. Just gonna hit her with a tack cloth. Now, the repair I did here was a pretty minor repair, but I think if you had a chunk taken out or something like that, I think that product would work just fine and dandy for that. So don't be afraid. You're not going to lose too much, just a little bit of time. Alright, the product I'm using, this is a Marhide product, and it's just a black satin paint. Now it's good for aluminum, plastic, the whole works. So don't just be using some engine oil, it's got to be good, able to stick to plastic. Not too heavy. Nice and even. I'll hit her from this side. Okay, I think we'll probably give her 3 coats of that. I think we'll be good.